At 75 years old, King Charles has finally broken his silence in a way no one quite expected, and what he revealed has left many stunned. For decades, the world has watched him through a carefully polished royal lens. The pageantry, the speeches, the tightly measured public appearances. But beneath the weight of the crown and decades of royal protocol, Charles has carried something else, something far more human. And now, for the first time, he's begun to speak openly about it. The man the public knows today as King Charles III was once a little boy who didn't quite fit the mold, not in his family, and certainly not in the institution he was born into. From his earliest years, Charles stood apart. He was quiet, reflective, deeply emotional, qualities that might endear most children to their parents. But in the British royal family, they were seen as liabilities. His father, Prince Philip, a product of military discipline and emotional restraint, saw Charles's gentleness not as strength, but as softness, something that needed to be corrected. The solution, in the eyes of the palace, was to toughen him up, not with patience or nurturing, but through separation and hardship. While previous heirs to the throne were largely educated at home under private tutors, Charles was sent away, first to Hill House School, and later to the famously harsh Gordonstoun school in the remote highlands of Scotland. It was a deliberate choice, intended to harden him, to reshape the boy into the man they thought a future king should be. But what Charles faced there wasn't simply discipline or high expectations. It was isolation, bullying, and emotional neglect. Far from home and largely cut off from the comforts of his family, he became an easy target. His classmates saw him not as a peer, but as a symbol of privilege, a boy who, in their eyes, deserved to be brought low. In his later reflections, Charles would describe Gordonstoun as a prison sentence. And yet, incredibly, he endured. He didn't rebel. He didn't collapse. He adapted, silently absorbing every blow, emotional and otherwise. The public saw none of this, of course. What they saw was a prince growing into his role, educated, well-dressed, always composed, but inside, he was carrying scars no one acknowledged, let alone addressed. And those scars would follow him, shaping every relationship, every choice, every hesitation that the press was so quick to criticize in the years to come. After leaving school, Charles made a decision that caught many by surprise. He joined the Royal Air Force, and later, the Royal Navy. At the time, some within the palace whispered that it was a publicity move, an effort to earn credibility. But the truth was deeper. Charles was trying to prove, perhaps to others, but also to himself, that he was not weak, that he could do what was expected of him, and more. He trained hard, flew real missions, and embraced the physical and mental demands of military service. It wasn't about ego. It was about finally feeling capable in a world that had spent so long doubting him. Still, despite his efforts, doubts lingered. Within the royal hierarchy, there were those who believed Charles's place as heir was secured only by tradition, not by his own strength or merit. He was too gentle, too emotional, too hesitant, they said. Not suited for the hard decisions a monarch must make. These doubts followed him throughout his decades as Prince of Wales. Even as he took on more responsibility, built charitable organizations, and represented the crown across the world, whispers persisted. Was he strong enough? Was he ready? Would he ever be? Now, after finally ascending the throne following Queen Elizabeth II's passing, Charles has begun to do something no one expected. He's opening up. In private conversations, in subtle public remarks, he's begun to acknowledge the truth. That his childhood was painful, that his emotional nature was treated as a flaw, and that he spent decades trying to be someone he wasn't just to gain approval. From his family, from the institution, and from the public. It's not a dramatic confession. It's not framed with fanfare. But for a king raised to show no vulnerability, to finally admit to years of quiet suffering, It's monumental. And in a way, it's heartbreaking. Because the truth is, Charles was never just one thing. He wasn't only soft. He wasn't only strong. He was both. A man forced to wear armor long before he was ready for battle, who learned to smile politely while hiding emotional bruises. A boy who wanted connection, but got exile. A prince who became a king, not because he chased power, but because he waited his turn and bore the weight with more patience than most could imagine. Now, in the twilight of his life, he seems less interested in perfect appearances. Instead, he's confronting the past, not with bitterness, but with clarity. He's beginning to show the country, and perhaps even himself, that true strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it hurts. And so we're left with a question. What kind of king do we want? One who never admits pain? Or one who finally does, even if it's taken 75 years to